Let's record. Hello, everybody. So, welcome to the podcast. I felt I needed to do this episode today. Um, so, we talked about already this season PBS being defunded, and now we're hearing uh, about states turning to basically a right-wing propaganda YouTube channel to handle their just basic education stuff. And Oklahoma is one of the states. In fact, is taking it to another level and forcing anyone wanting to teach there uh, to take a test. So, uh, so this is Channel 2 News. I think they're out of Tulsa. Can you pass the Prager U releases the Oklahoma teacher qualification test? So Prager U released its Oklahoma teacher qualification test, which Oklahoma State Superintendent Ron Walters says will be required for applicants transferring in from out of state. OSDE announced the plan to use the test earlier this year as part of its partnership with this controversial organization. So, like I said, it's a right-wing propaganda YouTube channel that's not accredited in any way, shape, or form. And this Walters jackoff, um, he's insisting on having the Bible taught in public school in Oklahoma, and is trying to force Oklahoma students to buy into Donnie's 2020 election lies. The whole thing. It was stolen. So let's continue. So PragerU defines itself as, quote, a free alternative to the dominant left-wing ideology in culture, media, and education. It is not accredited, nor is it an official university. It does not offer degrees or certifications. It's right-wing propaganda, is what it is. So on the PragerU test website, Walters is featured in a video talking about his reasons for implementing the test. Quote, we have to make sure that the teachers in our classroom, as we are recruiting these individuals, aren't a bunch of woke Marxist activists. Oh my. Dude, have you ever met a teacher? All right, teachers are fucking poor. All right, that's just the reality of it. Teachers are criminally um, underpaid as is, and a lot of them do belong to a union. All right. So they have no choice but to be politically active. In fact, a lot of people I know through politics are or were teachers. So, and I'm technically a teacher uh, too. So, and being pushed around like that kind of lends itself to being a lefty. And you know what else lends itself to being a lefty? Being properly educated. You know. So let's continue. So, uh, 2 News, the outlet doing this. Pre Previously, I learned that only 19, no, 19 applicants in the last 5 years came from California or New York, the states that this jackass Walters is targeting. I don't know how left wing either of those two states are. I mean, New York City in particular had Rudy Giuliani as their mayor, for crying out loud. And California, um, does the names Nixon and Reagan ring a bell? Hardly, hardly lefties. Yeah, yeah. There are no questions about Marxism or socialism or which is sometimes associated with Marxism on the Prager U test. Now, the qualification test begins with a small number of broad questions about gender identity, sexuality, LGBTQ issues, followed by a review of basic government and citizenship information. This test is set up so that an applicant is immediately informed whether each answer is correct or incorrect, and the applicant cannot proceed to the subsequent question until they provide an accurate answer to the current question. The Prager U website hosting the test also features a video where Walters discusses his reasonings for the tests. Um, and you're wondering, well, Ski, you don't live or teach in Oklahoma, so what difference does it make to you? I have nieces and a nephew that live in Oklahoma, so this directly affects them. And and I it sounds like already from my niece that she's adopted this type of thinking, and it scares the absolute living shit out of me. Yeah. When it was announced, the qualification test drew immediate pushback from lawmakers, including Representative John Waldron, who argued the new criteria could deter qualified teachers from relocating to Oklahoma. Quote, we can't issue a competency test for teachers because they're from our state. The law says we are to grant teaching certification to certified teachers who come here from other states. It does not give him the authority to issue them a test. Amen, brother. His biggest concern is that Walters is making it harder for people to become teachers where while Oklahoma is in the midst of a teacher shortage. Imagine you're a math teacher coming in from Oklahoma, from California. What do you need to know about chromosomes? Nothing. That's a biology uh, question, and that's a that's biology. That's medicine. That's not math. No. Why are they asking you about citizenship? That's a social studies um, question. That's civics and everything. What does that have to do with math? You're trying to teach math. So imposing this test or this certification exam on you is unlawful. And I would sue and I would win. And, and he said of the 573 out-of-state teacher applications received since 2020, yeah, again, only 19 came from New York or California. And you can take the test yourself. And this is why I'm doing the video. So you'll see the video pretty much right away if you follow us on Facebook. But the actual episode, you're going to wait. Although, and guess what? I am that crazy, and I'm that bored for contents that we're going to take the test. We are going to take the test, and we're going to find out just how bullshit this is. I'm not going to bother with the video, so we are just going to take this test. I will close this window. And yeah, here we go. Wish us luck. I think we'll do just fine if it's just basic stuff. But I will be here to call out propaganda. I think so. And it's asking for me to fill out some stuff. Let's turn off the screen shaving for now because it's asking for information that, frankly, is none of your business. And I don't want everyone texting me in the middle of the night. Okay, so just a few fields. United States, of course. What best describes you? Okay, we'll go back to sharing the screen here so that you all get to see what the F we are dealing with here. So I'm going to pick other for this one, but it gives you the so you could choose A, parent, grandparents, B, teacher, educator, C, student, D, other. I'm going to pick other. And here we go. So, question one of three. According to the Supreme Court cases Meyer v. Nebraska and Pierce v. Society of Sisters, both of which were uh, from the 1920s, who has the ultimate rights to direct a child's education? A. Superintendent of schools. B. The parents. C. The Board of Education. Or D. The Federal Department of Education. Um, well, ultimate. No, that's a good question. I'm not familiar with either of these cases. I will look them up at some points, but I think the answer they're looking for is the parents, and that is the right answer. That is correct. Question number two. What is the fundamental biological distinction between males and females? A, height and weight. B, blood type. C, personality, personal preference. Or D, chromosomes and reproductive anatomy. Okay, I see what you're trying to do here. All right. From a biological standpoint, it is D, but let's be honest, gender and sex are really a continuum, you know? Uh, I don't understand the science behind it, but but that it is what it is. So, continue on. How is a child's biological sex typically identified? A, parental affirmation of child's preference. B, personal feelings. C, visual anatomical observation of chromosomes. D, online registration. You sick fucks. The answer is C, but seriously, seriously, you sick bastards. Uh, Question number four. Which chromosome pair determines biological sex in humans? AABB. What? Um, it's a, the answer is B, XXXY, but AABB, that makes no sense. RHAB, that makes no sense. XEXQ, that makes no sense either. So, so you must think people from California and New York are really fucking stupid if this is what you're. Why is the distinction between male and female considered important in areas like sports and privacy? It isn't. But well, let's entertain these jackoffs. For equity in minority communities to preserve fairness, safety, and integrity for both sexes, to increase participation in sports. How many transgendered kids are actually participating in sports in the first place? And to enhance the self-esteem of transgender children. Um, let's see if I pick. Oh, sorry, that is not right. And they're making me do it again. So to them it's not A, although that really is the right answer. Is it B that we're looking for? B, that is correct. Again, how many transgender kids are actually in sports? And as far as the bathroom is concerned, if that's uh, A, none of your fucking business, and B, a lot of stores, a lot of restaurants have gender neutral bathrooms. That's how you handle this thing, is just have a gender neutral bathroom. Question six, should teachers be allowed to express their political viewpoints in the classroom in order to persuade the students to adopt their point of view? Uh, A, yes. Teachers have freedom of speech too, which does not stop at the classroom door. B, no. Once you become a teacher, your freedom of speech in and out of the classroom is restricted. C, yes. Sometimes when the issue involves civil rights or social justice. D, no. The classroom is not an appropriate venue for political activism. O- Okay, it's certainly not B or D. And for you to think that there's actual indoctrination going on in classrooms because they talk about civil rights or social justice, I'm going to go with A. Sorry, that is not correct. Oh, I want to make that abundantly clear. All right, that's my freedom of speech. Okay, so A is not the correct answer. Go back to C. Sorry, that is not right. So once again, for those of you who can't see because you're listening to the podcast, I am giving the finger. Okay, let's. So it's one of the two wrong answers. I mean, blatantly wrong. Is it B? No, sorry, B is not correct. So the answer they're looking for is D. No, the classroom is not an appropriate venue for political activism. Then don't indoctrinate your then don't use religious schools to indoctrinate kids, you fucking jackoffs. Uh, Question number seven. What did the Supreme Court rule in the 2025 case Mahmoud v. Taylor? I'm not familiar with this case, like, at all. Um, A, gender affirming medical procedures are allowed in America. B, students must recite the Pledge of Allegiance in schools. C, non-religious schools must hire non-religious staff. D, public schools cannot require participation in LGBT themed instruction without parental opt out. I'm not familiar with this case. But Pledge of Allegiance, that was back in the 50s, and they are not required to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Uh, I I am not a fan of the Jehovah's Witnesses, but on this, they were right. And religious schools must hire non-religious staff. Religious schools can do whatever they want, as far as I'm concerned, but it would probably behoove them to hire non-religious staff if in fact they want the job and there's nowhere else to do the job. Um, I would hope gender affirming procedures are allowed in America for those, you know, transitioning, you know, because again, that's none of my fucking business, and that's only their business, and it's none of your fucking business. Uh, and since when has a public school required participation in anything really? So let's go D. Okay, D is correct. Question eight. The first three words of the Constitution. We the people of the United States in order to form a more perfect union. There, I can cite the Constitution too. Um, Might want to look into that First Amendment at some time, where Congress shall make no law um, regarding forcing religion down our throats. Question 9. Why is freedom of religion, speaking of the First Amendment, why is freedom of religion important to America's identity? A, it protects religious choice from government control. B, it makes Christianity the national religion. C, it bans all forms of public worship. D, it limits religious teaching in the public square. It's A. Congress shall make no law uh, regarding freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, freedom of petition, freedom of the press. It's A. So, and by the way, that's freedom from religion as well. Uh, I don't want, I refuse to live in a theocracy. Right? Two parts of the United States Congress, House and Senate, House of Representatives and the Senate. That is correct. How many senators are there? Two senators per state, 50 states. The answer is 100. Uh, why do some states have more representatives than others? Because representation is allocated by population. That is correct. What's the primary responsibility of the president's cabinet? A, appoints Supreme Court justices. That is not what the cabinet does. B, pass legislation. That is what Congress does. C, sign executive orders. That is a function of the presidency. D, advise the president. It is D. Who signs bills into law? It's the vice president, chief justice, president, or speaker. It is the president. What's the highest court in the land? That's the Supreme Court. We're on question 16 now. So, in the United States, which of the following is a responsibility only reserved only for citizens? A, serve on jury. B, own a home. C, pay taxes. D, possess a driver's license. I believe it is to serve on jury because anyone can do any of the other stuff. Fun little fact here for any right wingers happen to listen to this. Immigrants pay taxes whether they're here legally or not. Sunflower Brew, we had immigration lawyers on that podcast, and they explicitly said if you're coming into the United States, legal or not, you will have to pay taxes. Question 17. Which of the following are explicitly listed in the Bill of Rights? So, Bill of Rights, by the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, there are 27 total, but this is the first 10. So we have freedom of speech and religion. That's the First Amendment. Voting and public education. Not listed in the Bill of Rights, but still very important, especially in a representative democracy like what we have. Reproductive rights and healthcare, also very important, but not in the Constitution. Freedom from data collection and surveillance is absolutely not in the Constitution at all. So it's freedom of speech, First Amendment, and religion. What right does the Second Amendment protect? The Second Amendment, here's what I think about the Second Amendment. It is very, very poorly written. All right. Needs a little more, they should put a little more detail into the thing, make it absolutely clear that if you are part of a militia, then you can uh, keep and bear firearms. All right. It has nothing to do with restricting certain kinds of speech. Those types of speech are protected in the First Amendment. Um, it really has to do with the arming the military. It has nothing to do with hunting and fishing. But we will say keep and bear arms just to appease these fuckers. Uh, but it should be only if they're in a militia of some sort. Was the supreme law of the land executive orders? No. Uh, Laws passed by Congress and signed by the president? No. Laws passed by state legislature and signed by state governors? No. It is, in fact, the Constitution. Everyone. This is basic civics stuff. Who wrote the first draft of the Declaration of Independence? John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, John Hancock, or Thomas Paine? Uh, I'll go with Jefferson. That is correct. Declaration of Independence adopted July 4, 1776. Again, everyone knows this. Everyone knows this. What's the primary reason the colonists fought the British? We're on question 22. To resist expansion of the British Empire. I don't think that was going, I don't think anything was going to stop expanding the British Empire at that time. To maintain slavery. Um, no, that was the Civil War. To resist taxation without representation, to resist forced military service. The answer is C, taxation without representation. Why are we treating DC like that? First three presidents, it's B, Washington, Adams, Jefferson. Who is considered the father of the country? Well, that's George Washington. Although Franklin was a contemporary and very important. And what did the Emancipation Proclamation do? Ended prohibition. No, that's the 22nd Amendment. 21st Amendment, excuse me. 22nd establishes presidential term limits. Freed Confederate generals? No. Freed the slaves in the North? Ended slavery in the rebelling Confederate States? It was C. Sorry, that's not right. Uh, then it has to be D. And I'm going to reread that document because I'm pretty sure A, that took place in the middle of the Civil War, and and B, well, the South was fighting for slavery. So, what was Abraham Lincoln's primary reason for waging the Civil War? To preserve states' rights, to abolish slavery, to preserve the Union, to end the Union. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere between B or C. Let's try C, to preserve the Union, and that is correct. Uh, what causes Martin Luther King Jr. best known for? A, advocating for segregation? Absolutely not. B, advocating for abolition of slavery? Well, slavery was already passed by the time King came around. Advocating for diversity, equity, and inclusion, or D, advocating for racial equality under the law. Okay, I see what you jackoffs are doing. Yeah, they want to say diversity, equity, and inclusion is bad. It's not, but that's your thinking, and it's wrong, by the way. I'll go with D on this one. That is correct. How did the Cold War end? Um, the U.S. prevailed in the Cuban Missile Crisis? Absolutely not. Russia invaded and occupied Ukraine. That's more current events. We're talking about things that happened in the late 80s, early 90s. The Soviet Union collapsed. That's closer to the right answer. The US, the EU, and the Soviet Union signed a peace treaty. No. C. Soviet Union collapsed. That is correct. Uh, who was president during the Great Depression and World War II? That is FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And let's stop here. Who was president when the Great Depression started? That would have been Hoover. All right. FDR ended the Great Depression and got us through much of World War II. Unfortunately, passing away in office, and Truman finished the job. Uh, Hoover, No, Hoover started the Depression. All right. So acknowledge that. What's the name of our national anthem? The Star Spangled Banner. I can't talk today. That's correct. Um, why are there 13 stripes on the American flag? The original 13 colonies. That is correct. What national holiday honors those who died while serving in the U.S. military? That would be Memorial Day in late May. Um, which of the following is a phrase from the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay, let's go through the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under God wasn't and until the 50s, but that's what it is today because we had to be as different from the Soviets as ever as possible. And this is the last question, 34 of 34. For whom does the United States government derive its power from? The Supreme Court, from the president, from the military, from the people. Okay, so it's basically so this congratulations, you've successfully completed and passed the teacher's test. How would you rate the difficulty? Easy. Thank you. And no, I'm not going to submit because yeah, I do not want to receive that certificate. So, and we're going to stop screen share it there. And that's a bunch of bullshit. You know, they have uh, it's stuff that if you bothered paying attention in American government class in high school, you would know a lot of this stuff. But some of these questions have absolutely no business being in this test. Like, do I Um, frankly, you all are sick bastards for wanting to target trans kids, and I will leave it at that. Shame on you, Oklahoma public education, for forcing this upon kids. And we are going to talk again very soon, hopefully under better circumstances.